Hey, this is Dan here from Rune Silk, and I'm joined by one other, and that's none other than Damo for show. And this is the Beardmail podcast. So sit back, listen, and enjoy.
It's the Beardmail podcast. We are vibing. Dan is sweating. It's exciting times. The sun is shining. We've got some cool topics to talk about. How are you, Dan?
Hot, too hot, so hot.
Typically British. We're not talking about the weather today, though, Dan. What are we talking about?
No.
Get the hook in.
Talking about 90s clothing, 90s fashion, represent.
90s fashions. And we are able to talk about 90s fashions because A, we are gurus, B, we are experts, and C, we had clothes on in the 90s. So, Dan, why have you chose this for today's podcast episode?
Well, as we know that fashion always does a little bit of a circle, comes around, goes around, whips around, and that sort of thing. I think 90s fashion is pretty big again at the moment. Hence, I have to slide in and get a pair of these recently.
Reebok. Nice.
Classic Reebok 90s trainer. Been well worn. Got these. These are my Jubilee special. They're not really Jubilee specials. It's just because it's a British brand. So
to be fair, I wouldn't even say they're in my top 3 of 90s retro trainers. Let's start off with trainers, right? Because 90s fashion, there's tons of it, right? But let's talk trainers. What was the top? Give me your top 3 styles or makes of trainers that you remember from the 90s.
I would say not necessarily ones I owned or liked, but I would say ones that were huge would probably be your Reebok pumps.
Yeah, mate. When you used to actually pump the tongue of it to make them go pump.
And then there's the Puma disc.
Oh, and you turned it, didn't you, to tighten up the laces?
Yeah, man. And then I would probably say I don't know, because basketball trainers were quite big, so I would have said a lot of the Jordan big basketball trainers. I mean, this T-shirt, as I said to you before we got in, this is a 25-year-old T-shirt. This is a quarter century old, still having it. Nike Air Jordan, boom, boom, boom. Still got it, still wearing it. Let's go.
The Nike Air Jordan 23s, like them sneakers were fat. What about though? Because I would be there or thereabouts. Nike Air Max. I remember Nike Air Max were just the most expensive but baddest, awesomest trainers. I wasn't wearing them. I was wearing high-techs for their wide fit. But Nike Air Max was a banging trainer to have. And have you even forgotten about the feelers, man?
Oh, I had a wicked pair of feelers. Yeah, feelers, Sergio Tacchini. Like, there's so many brands. Kappa. The Kappa
Slapper. Remember the Kappa Slappers?
And everyone was giving head. I mean, received head. What? Head bags? What? Head bags. You remember head? Everyone had a head bag, right?
Yeah. Focus, Dan. I know it's not like you to go off topic. We're talking about trainers. Trainers.
Oh, yeah, mate, trainers. I don't think head really did trainers.
So I remember thinking, obviously, like in the olden days, people would do as, wouldn't they? They wanted to pump up their trainers. They wanted to do their laces. Nowadays, everybody wants to do as little as possible and press buttons on their phone instead. But I'd forgotten about the twisty ones to tighten up. That is cool. But I had remembered the pumpy up ones. I remember them being so cool. And there was also footwear, because I did have a little nosy. Do you remember you used to have Kangol and, not Kangol. What's the other one? Shoes, kickers for shoes. Do you remember kickers?
Do you know what? I never had any kickers. I was too
pods.
Poor.
Were you a pod kind of guy?
I don't know, man. I don't even know what I was. I was probably like a non-branded shoe shop, cheap as chips kind of guy.
Growing up, I used to have the high techs for the wide fit, but they're feelers. I had a pair of feelers, and they were super wide. They were like massive, chunky, wide things, and I just loved them. They were blue. They weren't suede, but they weren't they were cool. But yeah, feeler trainers, mate. We start from the bottom, and we'll work our way up. That was some. Have you got any beautiful memories? Have you done any slam dunks with some Nike Air Jordans on?
I've got a really bad memory of trying to do that once because I could never really jump. But I remember sort of running up to the wall in the school gym and trying to jump off the wall to dunk, and I just kicked the wall instead, and resulted in my big toe now coming off a few weeks later.
But they made a film out of it, didn't they?
Yeah, because we can't White men not allowed to jump. Can't jump. Won't jump.
That's it.
Well, it used to be white men can't jump, and now it's just white men won't jump because we're just too lazy now, so we just don't bother even trying.
Is that what it is?
No, I don't know. I just thought I chucked it in there.
While we're talking basketball, right? I'm gonna recount a memory. I like to tell a little story on the podcast. Back in ye olden days, do you remember you used to like rent a TV from Rumbelows and rent a washing machine and stuff like that? Well, you could also buy clothes out of a catalogue, like not even £1 a week, like 25p a week. You could be buying some clothes and stuff. And I remember it was quite a fad, and it's come back around again now, and it's wicked actually. But a lot of the American football teams were huge. And my mate had this Orlando Magic coat that was the puffiest, biggest, massivest coat you've ever, like from the floor to above his head, massive. And I think his mum is still paying for it now. I think she's like up to 15p a week, but still paying for it now. And you had all those brands of American football teams. And the Raiders were massive, Chicago Bulls, so American football, basketball, and American football. All of them were massive brands. But if you walk into Primark now, Primark, they're all back again.
Is that the Littlewoods catalogue?
Any catalogues, all catalogues were where you could buy clothes from, and you could buy anything, and everything was 10p a week, 15p a week. It might have been Littlewoods.
I remember the Littlewoods catalogue was banging for that. Give me like literally 20 seconds. I need to cover my laptop or something because I think it's going to set a light in this sun.
Dan is on fire. So big shout out to the Orlando Magic. My mate Stinky's coat was massive. So I did this 90s rave scene the other day for a film, and I had to go and get some 90s gear. So I went and got this bucket hat, because bucket hat were a big thing in the 90s. But when I went into Primark, I looked around like, wow, all the American football stuff, all the American sports teams are back in fashion. They probably never went out of fashion. But I remember them being big. I never did have a massive puffy coat. Do you remember Helly Hansen? Massive
Helly Hansen jackets were big. They were quite a big brand in the puffer jacket world with the Helly Hansens.
Did you have a puffer jacket?
No.
Paul.
I was probably like the most uncool 90s person because I didn't have the budget for all these really cool brand clothing, but I was still cool. I spent all my money on these. I had the biggest collection of classics.
I do remember there was a little bit of fear of missing out. My mate Stinky got that massive Orlando Magic jacket. My other mate Paul Salisbury, he had the brand new Nike Air Jordans, and I won't get none of that stuff. What did I used to get? I remember getting a dodgy shell suit. My dad had a mate from down the pub. He was an Indian chap, and he used to sell loads of stuff. You know, like official England merchandise with 4 lions on the crest and that. So I think I had a shell. I think
everyone's dad had a mate that could get moody gear, didn't they? But my dad had a mate called Tony. Yeah, good old Tony down the road. He'll sort you out anything you want, son. Doesn't matter if it's got a different amount of lions, different amount of stripes. 4 stripes on your Adidas tracksuit bottoms. Poppers, Adidas bottoms. Poppers.
Yeah, I was about to say the old poppers on the tracksuit bottoms.
The old poppers, which was just like some of the most pointless stuff. One of the things that I think one of my biggest memories of that era, and I still don't understand why, 1, men thought they were attractive, and B, women thought it was a good idea to wear them. Pedal pushers. What the hell were they all about? Do you remember the pedal pushers? They were like the leggings that came halfway up the calf.
Yeah, they're hot. They are. Oh yeah.
Oh, you were a fan, were you?
Anything with a bit of calf on, deal me in.
I'm all in, deal or no deal, deal. I find it quite funny. Like it was, you only got to look back to like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to see how colourful the 90s was, and it was all that very much sort of comics, not is it comic, cartoony type, neons. You had the Techno Hyper Global t-shirts, so everyone knew when you were sweating because you just changed colour.
A t-shirt that changed colour. They were the hyper colour ones, weren't they? They were
Techno Hyper Global t-shirts.
Cool. Until you sweated. Man. Yeah, actually,
I remember eating 24 packets of Skips because I wanted the Techno Hyper Global wristwatch. I had a snap-band wristwatch that would change colour as you change temperature. I had to eat 24 packets of crisps for that just to get the vouchers. It cost me about 16 quid in them days.
I remember, it's not fashion, but I remember having a toy car that changed colour in the heat. So I just regularly put boiling water from the kettle on top of it, which is
were they part of the Hot Wheels range?
Yes.
I remember those.
Yes. and it was purple. But if you stained it with hot water or any heat, it would go like a pink. And then mine broke.
Yeah. I think it was all the rage there. I think the 90s, they discovered that they could change the color of stuff with different temperatures, and they were like, everything.
Let's put it on everything.
Scrap all the production lines. If it doesn't change color, it is not cool. Let's scrap that. Let's try again. I know we've always skipped past trainers, but I did remember one, and I remember my dad going through the roof because he had to buy me these trainers, and they were the Reebok Hexalite. It was when Reebok, they couldn't do the Nike Air because Nike had the air bubble locked down, and they had the Hexalite. And there was like a little block in the bottom of the sole with loads of hexagons in them. Yeah. 90s clothing was fabulous. Did you have many tracksuit shell suits? I know you said about shell suits.
Right, so I had a shell suit off my dad's Indian mate, and I remember it was blue. My mate, again, official England merchandise around the corner, right? My mate Salisbury, he's got the Nike Air 23s on. He's got an actual England shell suit, the proper Umbro one, and I've got this dark blue one from Indian mate around the corner, and I remember it had like a bit of a red stripe down the leg, and we was just oh blimey, I just dropped my letter opener. We were going down the embankment, and having a muck around, and there was some field there with some cows and that, and we went in the field with the cows, and then I think there was a bull in there, and I just remember thinking, shit, I've got red on my legs, and just turned round and ran as fast as I could towards that barbed wire fence to get out. And got chased by a bull. It never got me. I don't think it even was red. I think it was like orange. I think he was after my shell suit bottoms, to be fair, not the colours.
I think he was just jealous of me. He wanted a pair of those shell suits.
And I remember also, don't tell the police, but sometimes we used to light fires and stuff as kids, and that's what you did in the olden days. And I remember my shell suit, they were a massive fire hazard, weren't they? I had a bit of a...
I think that's why I was never allowed one, because my mum read somewhere in the news that some kid was like melted and it was like burnt with his shell suit. So I was never really allowed, because they were like, oh, they're dangerous. We're not going to give you clothes that are fire hazards.
Yeah, no, they were absolutely dangerous and a ridiculous idea, yeah. But I did have a shell suit. What about dungarees? Did you have dungarees?
No, not so much dungarees. What was the brand of shell suit that was Naf Naf?
Naf Naf was around.
There was a brand called Naf Naf, and it was. I never thought it was such an interesting brand was to call a clothing range Naf.
Yeah, twice. I remember actually, my mum was wearing some Naf Naf clothing. We were on holiday in France, and it was a really crap holiday. For what I think, like everything was just rubbish about it. And then I think she bought the shorts and top while she was there, because it was so fitting, because the holiday was naff and the clothes were naff and everything was naff. And that's what we was just naff. I just remember my mum burning toast in a naff shorts and top in this pony caravan. Oh, good old days.
No, dungarees. I never really had dungarees. Probably like the denim jacket probably went there with the double denim in the 90s.
I never had dungarees, but all the girls had dungarees. It was a thing for the ladies.
They always wear them off, right? They would
never
really.
Never have
both. Pointless. They might as well just had a pair of jeans.
Big time, but it's fashion. Here's one you might not have got. I got a pair of these from the indoor market, because we were like thinking we were badass, but we obviously weren't. Because it was the time of like raves and stuff like that. Mickey Finn and Dreamscape and all this like
Dreamscape
DJ Slip Mat, LSD, and I went and got these jeans to look cool, and they were called Spliffy jeans. They were the baggiest black jeans with a little embryo, a little embroidered fellow with a spliff on. And I thought I was badass. Now, bear in mind, I didn't even take drugs, didn't even smoke tobacco, let alone smoking spliffs. But they were cool and they were the rage, so I got myself some off the market.
Yeah, spliffy jeans were huge in the 90s. Probably around 97, I reckon, right? Because that was when the big sort of Jungle Mania tape packs were coming out.
Jungle is massive. Yes, when you'd have a tape, like 10 tapes in a pack. Yes.
In a big plastic pack, yeah. You'd always end up losing 3 of them because you'd lend them to a mate and never get them back. But I know that's not technically clothing, but it's part of that era. Going into record shops and picking up loads of flyers and sticking them on your wall.
Yes. I remember
that was wallpaper in the 90s, was literally all rave flyers. Didn't even know what a rave was. I just thought the flyers were cool. Look, my dog's coming in to say hello. What's this?
Word up.
She's in. Willow's in. She's retro. She's
Willow for show. Where's your trainers, Willow?
She's trying to jump in. I mean, I'm also in the 90s egg chair as well. I'm in an egg chair right now as boss. I'm totally repping the 90s. I'm going to bring my dog over because I think she wants to come in and say hi. This is Willow for show.
Well, we do need to do an
sausage.
We need to do an ASMR moment, Dan. So if you can make the dog do something special.
Smell it. She might. That might have picked that up. I don't know. She wants to try and jump on the laptop now. That's not happening. Willow, no. Look, you're such an attention seeker. Look, I'm gonna come in.
For those of you listening on Spotify right now, you need to head over to YouTube and watch the channel so you can see Dan playing with his dog on the podcast.
Playing with my little sausage.
Dan's waving his sausage around in front of the camera. Quick, put the prices up. Monetize this video.
Get the subscription in.
Right, Dan, well, we need to do an ASMR moment, and we need to do a laugh as well. These are staple parts of the Beardmail podcast. So when you finish with Willow, I'm thinking, shall we do the poppers? Imagine that you just popped all your tracksuit Adidas trousers all in one go. What would that sound like? I was thinking more. No, that's more like diarrhea. Yeah, that's near enough. That's near enough. Hey, Dan, well done. We're 16 minutes in. You haven't mentioned food, and I did mention poo. So it's
so hang on. I have to just butt in there. I actually did mention food. I mentioned 24 packets of Skips Crisps to get the Techno Hyper Global Color wristwatch.
You did, so I will win that one. Dan always talks about food, and I always inadvertently end up talking about poo. Lovely. So we've got pump-up trainers, dungarees, American football, bucket hats. Dan, did you ever have a bucket hat?
No, I was too cool for school, man. I always had the New York Yankees cap.
Not even a Kangol, like an Oasis fucking supernova.
So I guess I wasn't really the Oasis and Blur kind of camps. I was very much still listening to hip hop and drum and bass and jungle and stuff like that. So I wasn't really interested in the whole sort of indie Britpop kind of scene. I kind of thought it was a bit wank, to be honest. And it's only recently, more as I got a bit older, I kind of started to appreciate what people might call real music. Yeah. So I guess then I started I quite like Oasis and Blur. But then I was like, nah, it's just it's not, is it? So I was like, it's not interested.
Dan, do that again. That's the ASMR moment. Here's me fucking about trying to do poppers. Just do that. Fresh. Awesome. That's it. We nailed the ASMR moment, and I laughed as well. So that's two. two out of 3 is not bad. Every week, guaranteed, we'll do the hook, so we don't know what episode it is. We'll do an ASMR, and we'll do a laugh. That's 3 things guaranteed on the Beardmail podcast, or your money back. It's free, though. It's free.
But you can have your money back if you want, just because that's how customer service works, and we are generous like that.
Yeah. Stories, though, Dan. We need stories. This is what the podcast is all about. Stories. What stories do you have about fashion, or what memories can you remember about you might have been wearing some particular fashion when something interesting happened? Any stories?
So mine's more of the embarrassing movement that whenever I used to go to a school disco, because we didn't have like the biggest like monies in the day, I'd always borrow my sister's clothes to go to the school disco. Because she had cool clothes. She had the cool tracksuits. She had the cool shell suits. I reckon she was robbing, to be honest. Because, I mean, I didn't have the cool tracksuits or the cool trainers, but she did. And I got to a sort of a transition age where I was probably about the same height and size and shoe size. So I used to just borrow all of her cool shit.
Nice.
Yeah. Apart from that, I don't really have...
well, no, carry on with the story. So you're going to the school disco in your sister's dress. Carry on.
Yeah, no, that's the thing though, it wasn't, because she was more of a tomboy, so she actually had cool lads clothing, and so yeah, that was kind of me. I was the youngest, so I kind of always got the hand-me-downs, and the closest to my age was my 4-year older than me sister. Unfortunately, my brother was like way older and had moved out by the time I needed to borrow any proper men's clothes.
The girls did have some kick-ass stuff though. You look at like them chunky, massive trainers I used to have, like with like. A bit Spice Girl-esque, weren't they? Like massive heels on kick-ass trainers.
Yeah, the big wedges. I met the Spice Girls. Just FYI, drop that in there.
Carry on with the story.
Sorry. Well, I got all their autographs. It wasn't really that exciting. I just queued up for ages at HMV and got their autographs. I was a proper Spice boy. Loved the Spice Girls in the 90s. I queued up for ages with a little notepad in HMV in Cambridge and got all their autographs, touched their hands and everything. Oh, it was spicy.
Have you still got the notepad?
Probably not. It was one of them things that probably got. Probably not. If it
probably
is,
not.
it's in a shed in my parents' garden.
The wife's probably burnt it.
Yeah. No, if it is, it's probably one of those boxes.
Jerry Halliwell lives near me, by the way. Did you know that?
Oh yeah.
I say lives near me. It's about a half-hour drive away, but I've driven through her village. Did an Amazon there, I think.
But not to hers.
Not to her house. No, I sort of knocked on the door and said, "Look, do you remember signing my mate Dan's autograph book years ago? Well, he's lost it. Can you do him another one?"
And can you catch up with all the other girls and just get them to fill out pages 2, 3, 4, and 5?
Yeah, I'd have hooked you up, Dan. I'd have asked her.
But old now, isn't they?
She's probably old now, though. Isn't it weird that people talking about the 90s? Like, I remember, like, everyone's like older than me now, but there's a massive time distortion. Like, even like with Britney Spears, like, is she younger than me now? Was she older than me before? Like, a time gets warped when you've been around for a long time.
Well, no, it's because Britney's probably about the similar age to you, isn't she? I'm sure she was only a few years older than. Because when we were like 17, 18, she must have been like 20. I don't think she's much older than we are, actually. I think she's like 43.
That's mental, isn't it? Britney Spears, 43. We're all getting old. I still feel like 20. Well, I don't feel like 20. I feel like I'm 90, but I shouldn't be 41, is what I'm saying. Wait, what? Hang on, let's do the maths. What?
She's actually 40, Damo. She's your age, mate. You're in now.
40 for show.
Yeah. 40 for show, man. She's literally right on your age doorstep.
Well, bit old for me. My girlfriend's only 31. I'm a tomboy. Tomboy? Cougar. I'm a cougar.
No, you're a sugar daddy.
I'm a sugar daddy, yeah. My girlfriend's 10 years younger than me. But to be fair, I think mentally I'm about 21, so she's a cougar.
Well, we had this conversation. It was yesterday actually, because we did a.
Hello, the wife.
The wife's bringing me a fan out. This is my biggest fan. Not the wife, the actual fan.
I've already got mine. It's because you were talking about Britney Spears, wasn't it? She's like, "What are you talking about?"
This is how you roll, guys.
When you hope it doesn't fall apart, because I've just.
So the missus has just assembled a fan.
On Spotify, we've got a technical interruption. We've got Megan, Dan's biggest fan, who's gonna now.
We might get a bit of an ASMR moment as everything blows away.
Megan's just set up an electronic fan for herself while she uses grape leaves or whatever it is to fan Dan.
Hold on a second.
Fan Dan.
I actually can't hear you.
Oh, you can't even hear me.
Just gonna take 30 seconds out to go and get in this fan. I'll tell you what. You want ASMR moment? Let's turn it up. Turn it up. I want to know where. There you go. If that might have been an absolute fail or an
I pretend it was really
win,
good. It was awesome.
We'll find that out when it's going to get burnt. Apparently, this is how we're rolling today, guys. It's too hot to go and sit in the studio. It's too hot to sit in the garden.
Again, if you are just listening on Spotify, you need to hop over to YouTube and watch this back because Dan's wife has literally just came out and just blown him live after Willow had sat on his lap.
After playing with my little sausage, I got blown away. Nice fan, actually. It's a nice little pedestal fan.
That's it. We're all set up.
See, this is the issue living in this country. It's either too cold or too hot. There's never any in between in the UK, is there?
Never just right. Is that your doorbell, Dan? Now turn that into a drum and bass rap battle. Jungle is massive.
Yeah, it's happening. It's all happening today. It's probably going to be. We always try and remain professional on these podcasts, but that was a little dog. Apparently, we've got all the ASMR moments today. We've got the fan blowing. We've got the manor doorbell going off. My big savage sausage barking away. But yeah, truth is, podcast listeners, we're just average guys doing an average podcast. So,
well, yeah, I think we're amazing guys, and we're doing a phenomenal podcast actually. But if you want to dampen it down, Dan, we have gone a little bit off topic. I do think 90s fashion. I think is that boxed off. We've done it. I mean, we did drag it out for 25 minutes, and I wore a bucket hat and some sunglasses. We didn't talk about sunglasses. Did you have any special sunglasses in the 90s, Dan?
So, do you know what? I don't actually remember. I don't know if this is 90s, but do you remember the sunglasses that you used to get in a? It was in like a camera film case that they literally like rolled up, wrapped down.
Yes, they were Sharp Heart. They were free from Sharp Heart when you bought a beer. My dad used to collect them. I used to have loads. I'm sure there's other brands that did them as well. But literally in the pub, you would get foil glasses wrap around with the the pint.
These ones were proper like technicolored as well, so they were like mirrored and rainbowed and stuff. And
yeah,
I remember you could literally like roll them up and then put them straight into like it was almost like those camera film cases.
Yes, I know what you mean. The old-fashioned camera film.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit of a fiend for the camera, so I've probably got loads of wicked shots somewhere of me wearing ridiculous clothing. I was always a massive Ben Sherman shirt guy, so I think for me, like huge Ben Shermans, that's 90s, right? That must have been because I was going to the Junction under 18s disco and 100% wearing a Ben Sherman shirt. And I also had this yellow shirt that felt incredible. It was almost like a velvety shirt. And I'd wear it everywhere because it's one of those shirts that girls would always go, "Oh, you're wearing that shirt. Oh, it feels really nice." And I was like, "Yeah, I know."
I've got a matching underpants. Keep stroking.
Yeah. So I think, Ben Sherman shirt and
Levi jeans, blue jeans, or Wranglers.
Probably Wranglers. Levi's were probably a bit too expensive. Wranglers.
501s were so expensive. They were a thing.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember I went to Florida or Orlando, something like that, when I was 19. So that would have been 2000. Let's say it was 1999. But you could go over to the Nike shop and that in America and get so much swag for so much cheaper, and then bring it all back. And I remember I got some Levi's.
When I went to Florida, I went in, I think it was about 97. So still 90s. I'm just going to turn that down because it's a bit crazy. It's a bit too much. I found the love of thrift shops.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so I don't know if it was just because we just went to some real rich area of Florida, but you go into all the thrift shops and get like Polo Ralph Lauren t-shirts and stuff for like $4, $5. So I came back with a suitcase full of wicked clothing that no one had really seen because it was all stuff that wasn't available in the UK. And that was pretty cool.
Do you know what the coolest thing I had? Well, I just remembered about now. I used to have a Kickers reversible body jacket, like no arms.
Oh yeah, nice.
But it was blue on one side and cream on the inside, and you could literally, it was like having two jackets in one. It was sick. Kickers.
Yeah. Well, don't understand why they don't do more. Try to put my earphone. Don't do more reversible clothing because then you've got two for the price of one, right? It makes sense to do more of that. I've got a gilet that's reversible.
That's both the word I was looking for. Gilet.
A gilet.
Yeah.
A gillet.
That's it.
I don't like gillets because it sounds like Gillette, and Gillette means shave.
Well, so apparently, it's the best a man can get. I know the best mail. I know the best mail they can get. Beardmail.
Beardmail. The thing is, they forgot about the bit that they missed out on. The best a man can get. It was the woe at the beginning. We got controversial, ladies and gentlemen. We can't talk like that in 2022 on the Beardmail podcast about men and women and shaving and not shaving and best a man can get. Do you think Gillette will have to change their slogan now because it's not 2022 enough?
I think they should just cease trading and let everybody grow a beard.
So while we've diverted well off of fashion, 90s, FHM, Loaded magazine, Maxim magazine. Yeah, they were the rage then. Yeah. Oh.
What picture are you thinking of right now?
Joe Guest.
Yeah.
On a beach.
Yeah. I went straight for Jennifer Ellison. Do you remember her off Brookie?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a poster of Joe Guest on my door from Loaded magazine, and probably one of the most celebrated issues was oh blimey, what's her name? She did, and this is something else as well that's 90s, was the Big Breakfast Show with Johnny Vaughan. What was her name?
Denise Van Outen.
No, the other one.
Oh,
Kelly Brook.
Steffi Graf. Oh,
Kelly
Steffi Graf.
Brook.
Still a bit. Yeah.
'Cause
Sharon
Kelly
Davis,
Brook's
I was
a
thinking
Dago.
of. Sharon, how the hell did I
Yeah.
get Steffi Graf? Sharon Davis was I was thinking of. But yeah, Kelly Brook.
And then the Big Breakfast with Johnny Vaughan. That was sick.
Yeah. Genius.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're talking about TV now, so I guess we better sign off.
We better. There's 30 minutes. We could do a whole new episode about Big Breakfast. Anyway, thanks very much, Dan. Thanks very much, everybody, for listening. That was 90s fashion, and as always, our expert opinions and beautiful stories from me, Dan Murphy Show, and Dan Runesilk. Dan, there. We're going to say bye now, and we'll see you all again next week for another episode every Wednesday morning, 7:30 a.m. You can listen to us for half an hour or so. So get subscribed, and if you want to watch, obviously it's way more fun watching it because you get to see Willow and Dan's wife. So yeah, we'll see you next week, 7:30. Bye bye for now.
Thanks for listening, guys.
See you in a bit. Bye for now.